and good night. Welcome again to another in the series of our Belmopan Town Hall. Good night, Tata.
Good night, Glynis. Good night to our viewers, constituents of Belmopan. Pleasure to be here.
Good night, all. And as usual, we start our show with our national prayer. Let's bow our heads, please. Almighty and eternal God, who through Jesus Christ have revealed your glory to all nations, please protect and preserve Belize, our beloved country. God of might, wisdom and justice, please assist our Belizean government and people with your Holy Spirit of counsel and fortitude. Let the light of your divine wisdom direct their plans and endeavors, so that with your help we may attain our just objectives. With your guidance, may all our endeavors tend to peace, social justice, liberty, national happiness, the increase of industry, sobriety, and useful knowledge. We pray, O God of mercy, for all of us, that we may be blessed in the knowledge and sanctified in the observance of your most holy law, that we may be preserved in union and in that peace which the world itself cannot give. And after enjoying the blessings of this life, please admit us there, Lord, to that eternal reward that you have prepared for those who love you. Amen.
Amen. Good night again, Glennis. Good night to our viewers. Tonight
Good night,
certainly
Belmopan,
is
Belize and
a
beyond.
night that I think most people in Belmopan
Yes,
would
are
be
happy.
very happy to know that
Yes.
the son of the soil, Llewellyn Lucas, original Belmopanese, has received justice
Justice.
in our courts today. It's been quite an ordeal from July of 2015 to now, July 2020, 5 years. And it has culminated in life sentences for the known conspirators and murderers of Llewellyn. There are others out there in high places that had a part to play. There are days to come as well for justice to be served on them. But it takes a little time, but it'll happen. So, for most of
May
Belmopan,
Pastor Lucas'
especially those of us
soul
that grew up,
finally rest in peace. Yes.
yes, but for those of us in Belmopan who grew up with Lou and knew him as a child,
Well,
he was older than me, one of the bigger guys, but we grew up together same way. And Dave, um, everybody from the family, you know. So I'm happy for the family that they have at least a modicum of closure. Um,
especially his mom.
and I'm also happy for Belmopan.
Yes.
Yes, yes. Listen, losing a loved one by act of violence in such a way, is terrible. I know I have experienced it, and I can only imagine that, what they went through. But at this time, there is justice. I would have preferred for the death penalty to have been applied. And it's something that I want to address tonight because a lot of people have been asking on Facebook why it was that these people did not receive the death penalty. It's still on the books in Belize. It is still something that a prosecution can ask for, but it has to be done at the beginning of the trial. One of the reasons why we have not done so in Belize is because of the European Union and certain positions that the European Union has taken as a matter of human rights. They have basically outlawed or abolished the death penalty in England, France, Germany, and the rest of European nations. And as a result, they have imposed as a trading condition that countries that trade with them from the developing world don't apply the death penalty. Now, I find that to be high-handed because most of these countries, yes, they have evolved to a greater state of appreciation and understanding, but it took thousands thousands of years of them having
getting to where they are.
the ability to condition the society in a way to allow for greater rationality and reason to take root. Belize is only 39 years old. We are not as old as England, Germany, and France, and these other countries. And we must be given the liberty to have our society develop in a way that brings about the kind of appreciation, reason, rationality, and understanding that those older societies have. We cannot do so by jumping steps. We have to take every step to achieve this development. So I am not too much for those conditions that are being imposed. I think that we should be applying the death penalty. However, I will say this. There is a difficulty in applying the death penalty when the prosecution is dependent on poor policing. Because invariably what will happen is that it will be the poor and those who are unable to afford proper representation that will be hanged. Exactly. In fact, one could say that the last person to hang in Belize, Ms. Nora Parham, was hanged wrongfully. Because here it was that she was a woman who was convicted of murder in a situation where she was being abused by her husband. But the husband being a police officer in colonial times, that's almost tantamount to violating the king. So there was a certain level of prejudice applied in that case, which overlooked true justice. But it has come to pass that in this day and age, a woman in Nora Parham's position would have had at least the benefit of provocation, which would have reduced the penalty or the conviction from one of murder to one of manslaughter, with which she would have been able to avoid the death penalty. But unfortunately for her, that did not happen in her case.
Yeah, and that's sad.
Go ahead.
One of the things we are looking at Belmopan on Saturday. There are two. The 1st of August marks two very important dates in our history. Not only is it Belmopan's birthday, but it's also the day that, leave it for you to announce. I know you're excited about that too. Or slavery, or
Emancipation Day. August 1st is Emancipation Day. It marks the day that slavery as it was practiced
was supposed to be
African people came to an end, or supposed to have come to an end. In Belize, in 1888, Simon Lamb led the first march to the governor's residence to mark Emancipation Day on August 1st, 1888 in Belize. Simon Lamb's journey led to, instead of Emancipation Day being honored after his death, the institution of the 10th of September celebration. Simon Lamb was not marching for 10th of September. Simon Lamb's march was to commemorate emancipation of slaves. And we need to do what is right and correct history and celebrate as a matter of honor to those who built not only Belize, but the Americas. Belize must honor those whose lives were taken and sacrificed for what we now have. Honor the
Exactly.
Africans who are the foundation of this nation. Emancipation Day is
It is.
certainly supposed to be our number one holiday. Thereafter, we can talk about independence and forget about Columbus Day.
True, we can substitute Columbus Day
That's
for
my feeling on the issue.
emancipation. And yeah. And the thing is, what we need to understand, and something that we need to start to emphasize from primary school, is our African and Mayan history, so that people gain an understanding of where you're coming from, so you know who you are. It is something that I know, especially Dr. Eo and Yasser Musa was very adamant about, and we had Dr. Eo and Dr. Kal writing books, especially for primary school, that is not being used, but those things were, there was a push for the Mayan and African history to be taught from primary school, from infant one. And until we get to understand who we are, that is the reason why I think a lot of people are not caring about our country the way they should. We don't stand up for justice. We don't stand
Well,
up for
not only
what we
that,
believe in.
we do not have a full appreciation of who we are, and it affects the
True.
self-esteem of the nation when we overlook or understate the importance of anyone in the country, any group. We are doing a disservice to everyone in the country, and
Exactly.
I believe we need to be cognizant of that and do something to change it. So Emancipation Day, I think, would put us a good ways forward in addressing that gap.
Very much so. And then I think you want to make another announcement, Arthur. This week an announcement came by for Belmopan again
Well, yes.
with an
Let me couch it in this way.
yes.
We have a new candidate that has thrown her hat into the ring in Belmopan. She is a welcomed addition to the pool of candidates vying for the position of area rep. I welcome Ms. Anagai. I certainly look forward to inviting Ms. Guy and inviting her to assist us in having those other candidates who are running for the position of area rep come on board to debate publicly
Exactly.
their positions so that we can have the people of Belmopan be given a chance to find out what it is that each candidate represents and how effective they are in articulating their positions to ensure that we can distill within the field the values, the principles that they bring, as well as their commitment to the things they are putting out there in terms of their platforms and their positions. Now, Ms. Guy is no stranger to the political field.
Yes.
She has been a two-time city councilor. We need more women in our politics. I believe that the Belizean woman, is as talented as any woman anywhere in the world. And I do think that it's the nature of politics, the hurly-burly of it, the dirt in it, that has prevented more women from getting involved. But I'm glad, I'm elated that Ms. Guy has taken the challenge and has come in. And I see this as an opportunity. Belmopan has, for the first time, an opportunity, if all goes well, to have two independent area reps. Because, as you know, on Friday, the case of Claim 25 of 2019, the redistricting case, came before Madam Justice Arana, the first female Chief Justice in Belize. It's a theme, you know. It seems to be the theme of 2020.
Yes, it's a theme.
Women are ascending. Women are ascending in 2020, and it's a great thing. So, in the court of Madam Justice Michelle Rana, the Chief Justice of Belize, the application to appoint an expert to examine the voter rolls to determine whether or not the malapportionment is of such significance that it undermines the ability of our democratic nation to be so-called democracy has been put forward. We are now in a position to appoint an expert, which
You have to break it
allows
down a
for
little bit,
us.
Arthur. You have to break that down a little bit. Well,
I
for
broke
the
it down. I broke it down for you. We have
yes.
the situation where 1,500 voters in Fort George are worth 5
Versus
times the value in terms of voter weight and power than the voter in Belmopan. So the voter in Belmopan is worth 20% in voter weight than the voter in Fort George or Queen Square or Mesopotamia or Pickstock. And certainly, I don't believe that any resident in Belmopan
it's
could
less.
accept that they are less than anyone in Belize City. In fact, the Constitution says that we are not. The Constitution says that we are equal. And in order for that Constitution to be given its true position as supreme, the law that ensures that these constituencies are to be as equal as possible must be adhered to. So this is a Section 6 situation,
What
a
was
Section 6
alarming?
violation that makes it an imperative to the fundamental rights and freedoms. Yes.
What was alarming? You were on Love FM the other morning, Wednesday morning, and you got a call from Mr. Finnegan, who told you that it will be very difficult for this case to continue because, he said, politicians want the power and they are not going to give up that power so easy. And I was watching that. I watched with amazement and listened with amazement, I should say, when he called in to say that, in that we have lost sight that it is not the politicians who should have power. It is the people who should have the power, because the politicians should at all times serve their people. And that is where we have lost our sight in Belize on a whole, because too often the politicians believe
Well,
that they are demigods. And this is the reason why we need to change things.
we
Because
have two
when you
types
get
of people. We have
elected,
two types of people in politics, Lennis. There are two types. There are two types of people in politics. There are those who are in politics to have power for power's sake, and there are those in politics who understands that power is to be utilized for development and service.
exactly.
Now, we know where our present crop of politicians fall in that in that breakdown. The thing about it is this: the PUP and UDP have occupied a position of power and prominence outside of the constitutional parameters, because these are unregistered entities who adhere only to their own party's constitution. In fact, for the most part, they don't even adhere to that.
That's
The power
true.
brokers within those parties do whatever they please. The constitution of the party really plays no role until it is to be used to bring those and lower rungs in line. But by virtue of those political parties operating in that way, there is much contempt and disdain for the actual constitution of the nation. And this is the reason why, when we have elections taking place, there is no real difference between a UDP administration or a PUP administration in the final outcome. They all start with nice promises, lofty ideals, but end up mired in corruption and scandal. Every PUP administration outside of the 1981-84 George Price administration that brought independence have been mired in corruption. Every UDP administration from 1989 to now has been mired in corruption. And its genesis has been with these unregistered entities. So when Mr. Finnegan called in on Love FM, man, I knew exactly where he was coming from. And I expected no less from him because he is a part of the status quo. They have enjoyed the spoil system for all these many decades. And now we come to a point where the spoil system is being challenged and challenged in a very credible manner.
Guys, there's some messages that are coming here. You have Raul that says good night.
Good night.
And then to the Paz, she says blessing to everyone. And she goes on to say, yes, I'm still praying and hoping that one day we will get justice for my niece, Annie Young. She was vanished without a trace.
Oh, my. I'm sorry to hear that, Nancy.
You remember the story of Annie Young, the young lady that went missing? And she hasn't been found yet.
Yes.
Sorry about
yes.
that. Something happened.
Young lady, very smart, very well liked. And Reggie Judge, they are elected to serve the people. The people is the government.
Right. Well, the thing about it is that for the most part, the people are forgotten after the elections are over. And one of the main reasons for that is that the representatives who get into power cannot vote conscience. We saw what happened to Marcel Cardona. And this is the danger of continuing the cycle of replacing PUP for UDP, UDP for PUP, or for any of these parties that are unregistered, because the collective position trumps the individual's ability to represent his constituents effectively. And it's sad because most of the candidates who are running in these parties are very weak in terms of their positions and their character. They are not strong. They cannot stand independently. As a result, they don't challenge the dictates of the leadership. A representative is a leader of his constituency, which means he's a servant of his constituents. What his constituents needs and what they are requiring is what he should be focused on delivering. And if it means that he must go against what the party is putting down, then that is what he should do, because it's not the party that elects him, it's the people. And this election, 2020, and a guy is doing that in Belmopan and saying that she is ready to take on that mantle to represent people, and I am doing that in Belmopan, putting down the mantle and saying I'm prepared to stand up for the constituents of Belmopan, irrespective of what PUP or UDP has to say. And we will do what is best for the people of Belmopan.
Arthur, how would you address a voter in Belmopan who looks at you and says, but Arthur, at the end of the day, you are a PUP. And if PUP win, it makes you a part of that particular group.
I have been identified with the People's United Party for most of my adult life. I came into this party in 1992 officially when I became 18, and but before then, as a 7-year-old, I was inspired to be a part of it by George Price himself. Now, George Price is a hard man to replace, and John Bresenio is no George Price.
Exactly.
I am no longer a member of the People's United Party. I have friends within the party. I have friends within the UDP as well. My role in Belmopan is to unite Belmopan, to bring it back to what it once was, where no one was really worried about which party the other person supported. But by virtue of living in that common space called Belmopan, we knew we had each other's back.
You have to look
Belmopan
after
has
each
been
other.
divided by this divisive partisan politics that has taken root over the last 12 years. And I say the last 12 years because it is the characteristic of the Jan Saldiva regime to divide the people in Belmopan in such a way that there's great mistrust and certainly a lot of contempt for one another in Belmopan. It's the worst I've seen it. And it's one of the reasons why we are seeing crimes of opportunity taking root in Belmopan a way that it has never happened before. As a child growing up in
True.
Belmopan, we didn't have burglaries the way we have them now, robberies the way we have them now, muggings the way we have them now, because people knew. Man, I remember we have the National Agricultural and Trade Show every April and May, the end of April, early May. And we would get a large influx of persons coming from the districts, especially from Belize City. Your card harps who would bring their three card mountie or hide the P games and all these things. And these guys would also bring people who would be notorious for committing petty crimes. When they would come into Belmopan, those persons were monitored by citizens of Belmopan. And whenever they stepped out of line, Belmopan people
They were not.
put them in check.
Mm-hmm.
And we had that characteristic of protecting our community.
Each other.
But we don't
Mm-hmm.
have it anymore. We have
Because
become disparate
we used
in
to
our interests.
house
And
and even block your door.
right, right. We could leave our bicycles at the tennis court, at the basketball court, go back and get it. Because people respected each other. There was unity.
Yeah.
And that's what the Art of Saldiva campaign seeks to bring back. Unity, prosperity, and sustainable development. We have to bridge the divide. We cannot have 50% of our population be put aside and only utilize 50% for development. We'll never get development that way. We need everybody. All hands on
Yes.
deck. It has been a mantra of this campaign from the beginning. All hands on deck.
Hands on deck. Yes.
Whether you're blue,
Okay.
you're red, in terms of your affiliation, put that aside for now. We need to concentrate on bringing Belmopan back to what it used to be and improving it. We need the change now. And I'm here to
Exactly.
assist in getting that change realized.
One of the things
What the
that
Jack
we
says is
also need.
can anyone get those ministers' taxes or see how much they make for the year? And if their salary shows what they owe is legal,
That's
or what they've owned is legal.
Well, this is the thing. The salaries are published, but because of the position
I'm not hearing.
being who have powerful ministries like the Ministry of Lands, Ministry of Economic Development, these people are getting huge kickbacks for licenses, for road contracts, and for other things. Those documented, so there's no taxes being paid on those. So there's certainly an inability to determine how much they're paying
But
themselves,
should
apart from the
but shouldn't
official salaries that they're getting.
but Arthur, shouldn't you declare each year as a minister or as a member of the house your assets from one year to the next? So you would be able to
Yes,
see
you
how
should.
those persons gain or lost whatever. Because if you are living, let's say your salary is $1,000, just to make it small and easier for people to follow. If your salary is $1,000 each month, and you are supposed to be serving the people properly, and you're going out and you're making that money work for you, and at the end of the fiscal year next year, you're able to acquire 3 more vehicles, a new house, a boat. Where did those things come from? You should be able to account.
Right.
So then,
No,
we should be able to see.
Glennis, yes.
No, that
What
is
has to
should
happen is that there must be an audit. There must be an audit of the assets of these people after they
exactly
come into power.
before and after.
We know of the situation. I mean, in Belize City, we know these huge buildings, all painted canary yellow, belonging to Mr. Martinez. We know of the whole situation with the tranches that John Saldiva has gotten, and him saying that this was for campaign donations, but then at the end of the day saying that he was spending it on his football team, which is certainly a private concern. So it is there, is that Section 121 of the Constitution, which is the Code of Conduct, does not have a penalty attached. And again, it is not in the interest of the PUP or the UDP to put a penalty to that code. But the code in itself, which mandates that a minister or an elected individual cannot utilize his office for private gain, should not bring his office into disrepute, and lays out a litany of offenses for those who are elected. That be attached to the Finance and Audit Act, so that you can, by virtue of its violation, bring in the penalties that to allow for those ministers to be punished, and those persons who abuse their office to be punished. I mean, John Saldiva is certainly a prime person for that kind of justice to be meted out to, because he has openly admitted it and has done it with impunity.
But the wrong statement, he says, the independent candidate unite as one third party. And it goes to the crux of the issue of Mrs. Guy's candidacy and yours. Some of the take that has been out in the media has been Mrs. Guy being affiliated to the current party leader. And so it's almost as if her role is being seen or deemed or coined as an insurgency. What does it take, or what does it require now that you will coin yours? I'll be running. Will you take an oath that you will never run on the no party, or is that up in the air for consideration in the future, or that you will remain independent? You're a woman that is and that she's running, but that can't be the only qualification that she's a female candidate. Right. We don't know anything about her. She's coming there, and even though you welcome her, it's also time. The time is, what is her platform? Well, what does she runs on? What does she stands on?
This is one of the reasons.
Do you guys intend to unite as a third party?
This is one of the reasons why I believe it's important for us to have public debate. Understand exactly where the candidates are coming from. I do not know the full extent of Mrs. Guy's politics, and it's not for me to answer questions on her behalf, questions on her own. Speaking for myself, I will not be a part of any unregistered party. I will not put myself again in that position. I believe that, and I'll explain that because I think our viewers need to understand. When the PUP was formed in 1950, Belize was still a colony. As a result, it was treasonous for anybody to form any group that had the express purpose of. So the PUP could not be registered. In 1965, when the UDP came into being through the amalgamation of the three different parties, the NIP, and the other ones. I don't remember all three of them, but
yeah,
it was still during the colonial period, so the same law applied. But in 1981, when we became independent, the excuse was gone. And the fact of the matter is this, that the Belize Constitution was patterned after the Indian Constitution, the Constitution for India. And the Indian constitution in 1951 was amended to allow for the registration of political parties in India. Apologize to many of my Caribbean friends who reached out to me to correct me on a prior town hall by saying, listen, in Barbados, we have registration of political parties. In Jamaica, we have registration of political parties. In Trinidad and Tobago, we have registration of political parties. Is one of the only countries in this region that does not have registered political parties. And as a result of that, that is where the constitutional abuses are taking place. That is the genesis of corruption in our nation. So, to answer your question, buddy, I cannot be a part knowingly the Belizean constitution and the continuation of corruption. Some people can stomach that, I can't.
That was not Buddy's question. Buddy's question specifically, and we haven't answered it yet, is will you unite as one third party? That's what he's.
I look forward to doing so. I look forward to doing so under
One of the
a
things
registered banner.
One of the things that we have already started to do.
Please allow him to answer the question. He needs to answer the question that Buddy just asked.
Again, Buddy, the idea is to bring all available talent together for the development of Belize. Unity is strength. At this particular point, we don't have anyone that can claim to have a monopoly on all ideas, benefits.
Exactly.
We need to bring many hands to the table, many minds together, and certainly among those persons who are outside of the mainstream status quo, there are many talented people, and I certainly look forward to working with them as closely as I can. But as I said, I will not go down the same road as the youth by having these unregistered entities that operate above the law. We have to end that. And very soon I'll be bringing to you in terms of something tangible.
But more than that,
go ahead, Glennis.
But more than that, Arthur, one of the things that we have to realize that after election is over with, we shouldn't have a division. We shouldn't see people as red or blue or green or yellow. It should be that now you have a representative, and that representative should represent all the people of that constituency, not some. And so you don't have anybody more equal. It's not an animal farm thing. It is such that people, no matter who you are, should be looked after if you have a need, and your voice should be equally as important as any other voice in the constituency. That's the bottom line.
Well, that is the opportunity that exists in Belmopan today. The opportunity that exists in Belmopan is basically to ensure that we can do away with that divisiveness by having a representative that comes from outside of the parameters of those two parties, because that's where division lies. So in order to bring everyone together, there need to be a non-aligned leader in Belmopan. That may very well be the answer. In fact, I dare say this. We have some comments.
And I will say this: it's not out of the box to try to unite all independent
people. Not the color, and I agree with you. But the Bronx says, "Okay, sound good out there," so he agrees with you. One of the issue that Buddy raises now, and is the issue of people a question as to what role the independent candidates are going to play, if not part of some bigger entity or not some party alignment. And you need to take some time and explain to people internationally and in other countries the role that the independent candidate has played.
Yeah.
And where they
not necessarily internationally. Let's bring it home, Mike. Let's bring it home, because a lot of people are worried that if you don't affiliate with one of the main political party, you won't be able to serve the people. You won't
Yeah,
be
but
able to do any.
there's historical precedent, then it's where you
What,
can look at
what
and
Arthur
you
needs to
can learn from it. And that's
explain
what I'm asking
is
him to
that,
explain. Arthur
no,
necessarily understand.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
what Arthur needs to explain is what will happen in Belmopan. Let's bring it home to Belmopan. Let's discuss it, not international. Let's discuss how he
Let
plans
me
to
do
see.
both. Let me do both, Glennis. Glennis, let me do both. Because here's the
Okay.
thing. We have the situation where, for example, in the United States, most of us hear of Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders and Joe Lieberman were
Mhm.
canons,
Right.
icons in the Senate in the US, both registered independent.
Mhm.
Now, what Bernie Sanders, independent candidate, was basically shed light on the failings of the Democratic Party in terms of addressing young people and their plight, especially as it relates to student loans, the whole healthcare system, and basically the shortcomings of HMOs, and basically created a movement towards having a more situation to allow for young students to come from under this huge burden of student loan debt. The mainstream candidates, as a result, and the administrations adjust to ensure that these things could be addressed quicker than it would have had he not been advocating for those positions. Likewise with Lieberman and their other UK and other countries, we have a lot of people, many people who enter the political arena as independents because they do not see the mainstream parties addressing the issues that are important to to many, that many people want to see addressed. And this has been the case in Belize. There's a certain level of complacency, apathy, and disinterest in the plight of the people on a whole.
Mhm.
Both political parties has taken on certain special interests. They are united by one common person. The PUP and the UDP are both in the pocket of one man, Michael Ashcroft. I mean, P talks a good game, but the reality is that they have given him a lot of concessions. The
Exactly.
PUP, they don't even bother to talk a good game. They have totally laid down for Michael Ashcroft. And that has not been good for Belize. Not at all. So we cannot trust neither either party as it relates to the interests of the Belizean people. This is where an independent candidacy across the board in Belize would do in ensuring that the interests of the Belizean people are served. No, in Belmopan, particularly in Belmopan. In 1991 and 1998, we had no embassies in Belmopan. In fact, we had no embassies in Belmopan until 2000, between 2005 and 2008. The embassy started to move down to Belmopan. We have a proliferation of international uh, services and embassies in Belmopan now. So Belmopan is an international city. The representative of Belmopan is a de facto diplomat or countries with their embassies in Belmopan. We have had, however, for the past 12 years, a representative that has been persona non grata, ability to
Exactly.
access the resources that these embassies have to offer. Belmopan is the only constituency that is able to survive in terms of providing the resources and the opportunities to its constituents without the need of central government support. Because we have all these embassies there, is a representative who not only has the interest but the know-how to tap into those resources to make them available to the people. And I'm presenting myself for that position because I believe I have what it takes to get that done.
So if you guys get the end results that you want from the redistricting issues, um, in a discussion that we had, I think you explained that there would be a possibility subdivided into north and
And so,
south, and so that would really open space for two candidates.
yes.
more about the redistricting issue and why is it that we've been so disenfranchised and why is it that you feel that how does it affect Belmopan? And why is it important for people from Belmopan to tune into this subject and to grasp it and to understand it and to be supported?
Well, Belmopan is divided into 5 major areas, and it's a pluralist community. We have Central American immigrants who have naturalized and live in the periphery. We have people from all over the country that come on their home by virtue of the public sector. We have a growing private sector community. Belmopan has had more than 7,000 to 8,000 voters for quite a while. In some larger constituency, but in Belize, it's one of the largest constituencies. The smaller constituencies are like Fort George and Queen Square with 1,500 voters. A couple of streets, the representative can walk the entire constituency in Fort George, Queen Square. You can do it in less than a day. Belmopan is wide and spread apart now. It is impossible for any one representative to see everybody in Belmopan in a short period of time. And in fact, I dare say that over the past 12 years, I doubt that John Saldiva has seen even half of his constituents. The proof of that is in the elections, because he has been winning by declining numbers every successive election. And in no election has the combined voter total exceeded. So there have always been more than 40% of the electorate in Belmopan that has not participated in the electoral process since John Saldiva has been winning elections, which doesn't bode well.
You would be facing not only John Saldiva, but also Mira as an opponent, but you speak mostly of John. Mira came into this of migrants. At what point do you intend to engage him, and what do you think that you bring to the table that he does not?
Well, I believe
Miro is afraid to even face what in a
the same way I
convention,
engage with
much
John
less an
Saldiva, because
election.
he needs to bring to the public in Belmopan what he stands for. He has to show us that he is worthy of the support that he wants. And the only way that that can happen is if he accepts the challenge and comes to debate publicly. All of them, including John. John has to stand on his record, whatever his record is. Oscar Mira has no record. Okay? I have a record. I have a record that goes back to 1989. I have not been an elected representative, but I have been working within the political framework, and I've been working for the people of Belize in advocacy for many years,
Exactly.
and will do so until I die. My thing about it is this: it is time for us to elevate the political discourse in Belize, and Belmopan is the best place to start.
Yes.
We're the capital of the nation, and part of elevating that, having public debates. So if Oscar Mira is serious about representing the people of Belmopan, then
Let
he
him
should
come.
be open to have debate, to have the people of Belmopan be able to test and see for themselves what he is made of.
Well, one of the things that Glennis spoke to, and she was right, is that when you were on the show, that some of the statements that came from Finnegan, and some of the things that he said was, he admitted that it was about power, and he also said that people are human, and that they will play mischief with this, and there's a possibility for mischief to be made, and that it's going to be difficult. There's going to be so many hurdles. I guess as a retiring statesman, he's free to see what he wants now. We've had some statements coming from, say, the Arrington and other people that are coming off of the political arena. But the mischief is an issue. How would you guys go about dealing with the logistics of it given the short time? And what would be the final end result in your opinion?
Right. Well, I totally disagree with what Mr. Finnegan had to say, and I'll explain to you why. The concept that the constituencies be made as equal as possible. That constitutional requirement is what triggers the court to act. What Mr. Finnegan has been, what he articulated, is what has been the political reality, which has been outside the parameters of the Constitution, where they choose how the lines are drawn for their advantage,
Purpose,
not
yeah.
to address
The needs.
people's need. People's need, which is what the court must address. It's simply a matter of doing the numbers and drawing the line. It doesn't countenance who is going to be on this side or on that side of the line. Now, the fear that the present day politician has is especially because of this last and August, which is coming, are the normal time for transferring of votes. So this is when the lists are contaminated with people being brought in from different parts of the country to vote in areas where they don't live. So if you are going to have the subdivision take place and the lines be drawn now, a lot of money and a lot of resources are being spent right now to bring people to vote where they don't belong.
Government vehicle coming in with
Those people
voters.
may wind up not being able to vote representatives that's putting them there. And that is the fear. But that is not the concern or consideration of the court. The court has no intel games that are being played to undermine democracy. The court has one mandate and one mandate alone: to uphold the sanctity and integrity of the Constitution. And the Constitution is not red and it's not blue.
There's some interesting comments coming in. Sandra Nisbet Casino says, so will Belmopan have 4 candidates for general election? She's asking the question. And Buddy Brown goes on to say, Arthur, we can't have you and Miss Anna Banner guy running together in Belmopan as independent vote. So you guys have to come together and form a cohesive third party. Now, and that goes back to the issue that I was trying to articulate and what I was explaining to you. Listen, as party aligned.
Before you say that, though, address Chandra's comment.
And so that's the issue I wanted you to elaborate on.
It seems that yes, there may be 4.
Go ahead, Dennis.
But go ahead. No, go ahead, Arthur. Explain that part.
Well, with this guy coming in at this stage, 4 persons now vying for the position of area representative in Belmopan. Buddy, yes, there is that possibility that votes may be split. In fact, votes are normally split between the red and the blue. And you find that there are many and a growing number of persons not participating because the choices are so limited. Is to bring all those disaffected people who are not participating in the process and showing them that there is reason for them now to and restore confidence in the system. This is one of the reasons why I have been pushing to have the redistricting be done, to basically to ensure that Constitution exists and the Constitution is in fact important. Because for so long it's been used as a tool of convenience and not for what it really is, that legitimizes the state. So by bringing back confidence in the Constitution, we can bring back confidence in our citizens. One of my biggest challenges was in addressing the issue of immigration. I believe we just recently had the committee on immigration recently. Now, I don't go around patting myself on the back or tooting my own horn. But certainly, the advocate that COLA had, the advocacy that persons like Mose Hyde had, that I supported, led to Elvin Penner being brought down off his perch as era rep and reprimanded, and led to that Senate Select Inquiry, which brought about some changes, but not half the change that I would have liked to see in terms of restoring the integrity of in terms of our passports. So there are issues that I believe many voters in Belmopan, when given the chance and look at the field closer, would be able to make a choice beyond just mere splitting and the consideration of insurgency, because this is a candidacy that going forward is not about staying on the fringes, but bring the collective mass capable of moving the needle across the line in our first past the post system and delivering the seat.
On that note, Raul Castillo said of Citgo service, and then Chandra in his response, she says, Mr. Raul Castillo, she is launching her campaign tomorrow for general elections. And I realize she speaks of maybe 5 with BPF. So we do have BPF as another entity out there. And Aralife goes on to say, Chandra responds to Ara by saying, Aralife is a BNP candidate. Not sure if they found one. So there's a possibility that there might still be another independent candidate in the Belmopan area.
The more the merrier, I say. I'm not for, again, if a person has that desire, and it takes a lot of courage to do what political candidates do, especially when you're doing it outside the realm of the two political parties. Even when you're a mainstream candidate, it's a challenge.
Well, the matter of the truth is that some of these entities have been recent. You have been on the ground, you've been doing your talk show, you've been engaging through your campaign manager with Ms. Glennis, and you guys been out there. But some of this is kind of Johnny come lately, you won't say, but I just did. So that should make a difference, and we'll see what happens.
Precisely. I've been here. It's been 2 years now that we have been coming to the Belizean public and the public in Belmopan, and we are known in Belmopan. I've been known.
Reggie Jex makes a very pertinent statement. He says, what makes a person qualified to run for office? In your opinion, what makes a person qualified to run for office? What's the qualification that you seek in a person?
Have integrity. You have to have the character to be able to stand for the principles and values that your constituents, without that ability to stand up in the face of opposition, to push through the things that your constituents, it's really and truly a futile effort, because the people want to be able to have a leader that can deliver on their behalf. This is the reason why they elect persons to represent them. Now, apart from that, to be a leader, one must hope of vision and thought, clarity of thought and scope of thought, to be able to be open-minded, to listen to various points of view and be able to articulate on behalf of those persons who present those point of views without being condescending or patronizing, but active of what others are bringing to the table. George Price didn't have any degree, but he had the humility and for his fellow human being to be able to empathize and carry through. I want to be of that same ilk. Yes, I am, but that is not a requirement for political office. I have degrees, but that's not a requirement. But these things do help. It brings an added dimension to the candidacy and the candidate.
Part of the questions, and we can't miss it, and we must take the opportunity to hammer it. But one of the answer that people is looking for is that people want someone with morals.
Yes.
People want someone with hubris. People want someone with the vision that George Price had, that what he brought to the table. And so you have Chandra Nisbet saying many people are not registering because of the anti-PUDP sentiment. They say, have you been taking any active measures to get people registered in Belmopan?
Yes, I have. And it's an ongoing exercise. We are, in fact, right now we are seeing that there's great enthusiasm among young people to register. Within the past month, we registered more Belmopan. So it is a process that is being engaged and continue to be engaged, and we are ramping up because with the advent of, there is need now to put all of these things on the front burner. But again, I do this also actively pursuing the redistricting in court. And the redistricting is what takes precedence at this time. Because
But
the
what
idea of
also
this
we
thing
have
is that,
to go ahead, finish off your.
yes, let's go ahead.
No, I'm saying
No,
what
we
also
cannot
we have
allow
to.
for the Constitution.
What we also have to do, Arthur, yes, we are fighting the redistricting, but we also have to give, and we will within the next 2 weeks show our community of Belmopan why Arthur Saldiva is a different kind of candidate, and although he was affiliated with QP, that has changed, and what he will bring to the table will be something very unique. So within the next 2 weeks, I'm telling the voters of Belmopan, look out, because we will establish ourselves even further, and we will be able to show you properly the road we are heading on, and what Author will stand for. I can guarantee my friends, because I feel this candidacy from within. It's not something that I'm just looking at, but at the end of the day, it is something unique and different. And because we feel that people have not seen that accountability, that service, we are able then to say to you, the Belmopan populace, that you should demand that, and that is what you should be looking for in your candidate, being accountable and someone that will serve you properly. And that's why I support Arta.
Yes.
That's not that.
There's also
That's the bottom line.
there's
I
also
see
some
someone
rumor
different.
out there, and I've been getting some feedback that there's a full blown construction going on. Have you found office? Are you prepared to say at this point where everything is going to be centralized? Where do people come and meet? Where do people come to learn about Arta? How do people connect? I mean, what is the Arta Saliva campaign doing in this election, redistricting or not?
The campaign is in the process of preparing the office on Toledo Street in the Site 7 area of Belmopan. That is where I will be located and where the constituents can come and see me outside of me coming house to house. In fact, I would be in the office primarily on Wednesday in the afternoon. I will use the rest of the days when I'm not in court to be house to house visiting with constituents. But on Wednesdays, I will be at the campaign office at number 24 Toledo Street.
Will you be at the campaign office this coming Wednesday, or what Wednesday are we talking about?
Well, Wednesday, if the works are done by then. It is a work in progress at this time. It's progressing quite well. And hopefully by then we should be in a position. But I cannot promise this Wednesday, but certainly within the next 2 weeks, as Dennis had put forward, we should be in that position.
Well, I passed it seems that you'll be needing an electrician, and here Ira Lightfoot says that Richard Jacks, the Minister of Health, you might want to get in touch with this well, that's just keeping it light. Part of the comments that are being made here is that some people says no degree, but people need to get promoted on their job and they must have a certain degree. So he's saying yes, you might not need to have a certain pedigree, but you need to do the job. It says
Yes.
some of the ministers' employees are way more educated than they are, and it seems to be the core of representation that we've been getting. Some scorn coming from the subjects towards that.
Well, the thing about it is this again, uh, a person may not necessarily have to have the letters behind, but there must be an appreciation of one's limitations. The intelligent people know what they cannot do and bring around them that can perform those functions that they themselves are lacking in. The problem in Belize is that we have people of great limitations, arrogance, and don't want to get help. They want to dictate because they're interested in power. And when a person is craving for power, and there is no
And don't
room
understand how to
for
serve. Yeah.
consultation and there's no room for consensus. And that's the problem we've been having. That's the reason why, and this is one of the reasons why I applaud women getting involved, because women are known to consult, women are known to allow for a plurality of inputs. But some men are too, and I dare say I've been one of those.
So if someone wants to get in touch with you, what are the logistics? They come to the office, they make an appointment. What needs to be done? Who do they speak to? I mean, the time. Who do
Well,
they get in touch?
Ms. Glennis Williams is the campaign manager. We have our campaign running full tilt at this point. The office is there at number 24 Toledo Street. We will be putting out numbers on Facebook. We have a web page being developed, which should be launched very soon, within a matter of days, because the campaign is multifaceted. The first phase of the campaign has been the town hall, which has been running now for 2 years. And we are now going into our ground campaign. That campaign should go on up until at least 2 weeks before the election, when we'll go into another phase of the campaign. Now, I don't want to say everything here like this, but certainly people, our constituents in Belmopan, will know exactly how
What's
to
happening?
interface with the campaign and what's going on, because we'll be keeping people updated on a daily basis. We have to address the issues pertinent to the people of Belmopan, and one of those issues is the crime situation. Another is the unemployment situation. Most people would know an economic development plan for Belize called the Gladden Plan. That plan, I haven't seen any that has come close to it in terms of what it could do. We're in 2020 right now. If we are to go by Horizon 2030, in 10 years, that should be realized, but I don't think it has even been started. But the Gladden Plan is, there is a plan for Belmopan, and that plan will be unveiled. It has to do with the enhancement of tourism in Belmopan. Now, tourism is going to be at the front burner because of what's taking place with the coronavirus and of what we've seen. But there is certainly a need for more Belizeans to appreciate what we have in Belize. Belmopan is a place where that can happen. We need to look at healthcare in Belmopan. Belmopan is not only the seat of Parliament, but is the seat of the Social Security. Social Security presently is building a building on the greens opposite the Farmer Cable and Wireless BTL area there. It's an office
Right
building.
next door to the President's Social Security headquarters.
It's a small building. It won't be able to house that many offices. If a office building was to be contemplated, it should have been one that would have been establishing a skyline for Belmopan, something to allow for all the government offices to be there. And instead of government paying rent to private individuals, all that rent money would be going to Social Security. But it should be concerned primarily with the health of the Belizean worker. So a comprehensive healthcare facility sponsored by Social Security, what would have it would have been a more prudent investment for the people of Belmopan and Belize. So we
Our
need to
health
be
or
able to bring to Belmopan a vision that would allow for everybody to be impacted positively. We still do not have in Belize a proper residence for our Prime Minister. And space in Belmopan, it would enhance Belmopan. It would enhance the real estate portfolio in Belmopan to have for the Prime Minister and certain key ministers, for them to be able to host dignitaries in so these are
proper
things that
convention
I would be
facility.
bringing forward. Now, I don't want to go in depth and detail because what has
We are here
happened
voting for
on
other
this show,
parties.
we have our opponents coming on, watching, listening, taking notes, and then regurgitating ideas as if it were their own.
Okay, one of the issues that has been, and it hasn't been addressed by independent candidates, I haven't heard it from you recently, is the issue of campaign finance.
Yes.
Most of the political entities are funded. It comes from businessmen who are looking at it sort of as an
Again,
investment
Yes.
as to where they put their money. It is cumbersome and difficult. It is going to be challenges for an independent candidate. What is your plan in terms of going out there, in terms of fundraising, in terms of making to a community who will see you as an independent person outside of the status quo, unlocking the sort of efficacy that they need to put their own interests forward?
Have been utilizing to raise funds is through the sale of merchandise online.
How has that been going?
It's been doing quite well, actually.
One of the things that I've always managed is an issue of volunteerism, where you have people who are working for you. You're not out there paying people to work and getting them out there. I intend to spearhead that. I mean, what resources are you going to tap into? Where are these people coming from? How do you inspire them? What's the plan for that sort of inspiration?
Well, young people who have not been able to go to school in this period, the coronavirus being the main cause of that, I have been who have expressed interest and are enthused about assisting. In fact, recently I was on Mahogany Street. I met with a family, young university students who are university age, who have come on board time to assist the campaign. And we have more people like that who are coming on board because, again, there is great dissatisfaction and disillusion with the major political parties, and the young people want to see change. And they don't want to see the change tomorrow, they want to see the change now. So they are actively seeking to welcome these young people to come on board because, again, what we're doing now is not for ourselves because I'm approaching 50, it's about those who are coming after me and the wider community. We have to ensure that we can bring our community back to where it needs to be for those who contribution and need to have the remaining years lived in peace, prosperity, and tranquility, and to ensure that those coming up are given the opportunity to have living.
Reggie Jax here is he's suggesting that you have a basketball tournament. You start engaging, and he says, "I'm prepared. I'm going to donate the awards."
Beautiful. So, well, I welcome it. In fact, I know you've been one who not only assisted with basketball, football, but also given trophies for cricket and other sporting events across the nation, especially.
Thank you.
So certainly I look forward to that. But to address the campaign financing aspect of things, let it not be lost that the required parties is integral, because that is where the campaign financing legislation has to be tied. In India, for a political party to be registered, the minimum of something like, at that time it was 10,000 rupees. When 10,000 rupees was actual money, right now 10,000 rupees is not really a lot. So they have changed it, but to how much campaign contributions can be received by parties and when. And that is one of the ways and control the kind of monies that comes into these political parties, because not only is the amount and the timing addressed, but requirement of an audit to see where that money is actually coming from. So political parties can be disbanded if they breach the registration, the licensing guidelines. And that's basically what we have to do in Belize. This is how we're going to get the narco money out of politics.
You have Wayne Moody says, yes, the garden plan can wait for some maybe. There for some time. Maybe you should let people know where they can go and access it.
Yes, well, the Gladden plan, you can access the Gladden plan in terms of the visual presentation of it in the Gladden plan, and you will get my presentation on Love FM from almost 10 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And have the written document that I have on the Artist Saldiva for Belmopan page, and I will be reposting that. But specific plan for Belmopan that will be produced within the next couple of weeks, so that the Belmopan constituents, Belmopan voters, will be able to see practical and doable projects in various areas of development that can be brought to Belmopan to bring about the kind of development to move us forward.
Can we hear from your campaign manager the hours that they're planning to be available? When is the office going to be open? What's the closing time? And what are some of
At the start, we're going to do an 8 to 5. However, um, because of some of the things that we are hoping to feature there, it might be that we may have people around, and if we find that there are persons who need assistance, or is looking for something that we need to address outside those hours, we can make ourselves available. It's not something where it will be set in stones and we close up shop. That's not how it will operate, because at the end of the day, as I have said, and you've heard me said before, saying it again and again, it's a service to the people. So we are looking at the demands, and then, but for right now, it's an 8 to 5, because we intend to go in the evenings, house to house, but there will be somebody at the office, and there'll also be a number that you can text and call, so that you can get your concerns, and at any time, if you wish to set an appointment, 600-5408 is available to you, where you can either call or send your text as to when you'd like to sit and meet, and we will make ourselves available.
I'm trying to flesh out the logistics. I've had the opportunity to speak to you on some of the things you said that would be available. I'm not sure if you've discussed it with us yet.
Well, yes.
Is that you'll have internet there, that you will have certain services that are provided
The
to students.
office will provide, will be multifunctioning. Not only is it going to be an office for me to sit and hear the concerns of constituents, but also a resource on others who want to access information on the internet. There will be a high-speed internet that will be provided for persons there. They'll come in and utilize the internet to do whatever it is that they're seeking to do in terms of research and that type of thing. We know that a lot of our education will have to be done online. Realities now. So we'll be providing space for persons to safely log in and access information online. That's one of the other services that we'll be providing.
Okay.
No, I mean, I don't want to be giving ideas to, but it's there.
You
These
have
are
to wait. You
promises.
have to wait.
This is your commitment to people that you're making. One last question from me, and then I think it's almost closing time. Will you guys be printing a campaign manifesto as to what your commitments will be?
It's going to be a part of the plan. Manifestos are very short. They, to they are promises, and I'm not in the business of making promises. They are commitments that I have looked at that I believe are deliverable. In the plan, I'll be fleshing out what it is that I believe are pertinent in the short term through consultation with constituents in Belmopan, know how those things can be done and what time frame they can be done in and the way they can be achieved.
Manifestos, in my opinion, is a contract with the people, or it's a document, or it's a dossier. I'm saying, are you going to be making a contractual agreement with the people?
I will be
as to
making a
what your
contract.
commitments will be?
The contract with the people, we can call it a plan, which is a more in-depth document, but certainly it'll be a contract with the people. And one, not only one that is symbolic, because the social contract that was signed between the representatives of the PUP signed, but nobody could have taken them to court on that. As I said, it's that entity, the entity that I will be running under is going to be registered and it will sign with the people of Belmopan.
Wayne, would you say thank you guys for the work you're doing? It's saying great job.
Thanks, Wayne.
Regidex 7 is applauding your move to Toledo Street. And we've posted some hours here from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. So now the public know. Has a background from education. Again, is there any thought in maybe providing tutoring to students? I think parents are flustered about what's going to happen when school opens up.
When school opens. Well, the thing is, at this point,
service will be provided?
At this point in time, Ministry of Education is asking that if you're not going to send your child, to school, that you have to get permission for them to be homeschooled. You have to apply for it. We are looking into what requirements are being put out there by the Ministry of Education, what they will be demanding before we can say this is what we will be doing, because this is all new. And because of COVID, we can't, we have to be careful about the amount of people we will be having there. So there are certain guidelines that we will have to be using to make sure that things run smoothly.
I was actually referring to virtual tutorial, not necessarily, but actually tutoring done online.
Yes, what we will be doing on our page is to put up for parents, especially past papers. We have compiled a number of past papers, PSC papers, so that parents can work with their kids, especially for those going in standard 5 and 6. We're going to also try as much as we can to give parents guidelines of certain things that they can do with their children. Not because what happened, my understanding of it is that students will be going on a shift system. Some students in the mornings and some students in the evenings. And because parents are working, they have to try to find resources that will occupy their kids while parents will still be at work, because not all parents will be able to afford a babysitter as such. So what we intend to do, and I have already have that compilation. Yes, no, we won't be babysitters. We will be helpers. But what we will have on our website and on our page are some things that can help parents. And if you find you need help in certain areas, to try to link you with those persons who can volunteer to help your child to understand certain things that because until you really do certain problems in math, in English, in science, then we find those people to help to explain the points that you may be needing help with.
We have a wealth of resource in terms of teachers who are retired that live in
Yes,
Belmopan. We want to and bring those resources together so that we
into
can
those
direct
resources.
people in the
Yes.
right direction. Because again, so many of our talented teachers have been left on the. We need to ensure that they can be re-engaged. Again, these teachers are there, they have the talent, they have the interest to continue teaching, but they are not being utilized, and we want to bring them back a system that allows for them to continue to do what they love to do in terms of providing direction for young people.
There's two interesting questions here, and one, Mr. Jex remains engaged, and he says, "Will there be nurses in school?" And that's an interesting question, because lots of the policies are health policies that are being sent. We're expecting teachers that are not trained in the field to enforce some of these health policies that are being required to keep students safe. And so he's asking the question. I guess it's a question for the Ministry
Right. The ministry has
of
not.
Education.
The
not
Ministry
for
of
us, yeah.
Education has not indicated whether or not they would do that. Again, I don't mind saying so. I don't on the 10th of August is a good idea. What I've been trying to do and what we're seeking to do right now is to find out in Belmopan how many retired teachers we have in total, what are their expertise in terms of the areas that they teach, and try to figure out how we can get students or parents who don't really believe that
Link.
now is the time to have their children go back to school, right? To have them get together with those teachers who are at home by virtue of reaching the age of retirement.
Well, Amara Smith is asking. She says, "Will you have tutor for kids?" So it's going back to that.
Yes,
same
that's
question.
exactly it. I mean, this is what we're looking at. We're looking at past teachers, teachers who have retired, who are at home, who really and truly have some time on their hands and want to be able to be active.
She's asking if it's going to be linked to the center.
The center is going to be the interface where the links can be made, but the teachers won't be there. Again, we don't want to have a classroom setting, particular
Virtual.
location. We don't want to have people being grouped up, because that is where this disease can take root, and I don't encourage that.
So you'll have outside seating for
Outside seating, space seating for access to the internet, but it won't be a place to encourage mass gatherings.
Yeah. Ricky Paul says, hope that you shake up the two other party. They are full of criminals. One of the on a closing note, one of the things that I think you should take some time to speak to, and as a future leader, is that most countries have closed their borders to United States citizens traveling into their country. We seem to be
Opening.
trying to create a balance as the people who come here for the source for the money source that they bring, and we haven't really discussed all the perils. Five countries only that still allow Americans to travel into their space. So what is your thought on that? And
Well, again,
what would be your recommendations?
I believe that most of that is politically motivated. I don't see this as a tourism thing. It's more a political thing. We know that a large number of the voters for the present administration comes from the UN, that they would want to have it that Belizean Americans who vote for them traditionally are allowed to be able to come. That is not relative to all Belizean Americans, but there's certainly a large contingent that normally comes and votes for the present administration. So I believe that is the opening of the airport on the 15th of August, more so than the tourism pretext that they have put out there, because everyone knows the hotels, the tour operators, they don't really bring monies into the country. These things are done by credit cards and paid online. They are banked outside. It's a thing that really comes to Belize, mainly maintenance and salaries.
You see, all that might be true, but the reality on the ground here is that that I've done some research of my own, and lots of the major they're booked already. If Americans are not being allowed to travel to these other countries in the Caribbean and other places for the winter birds, they will come to Belize, and they will come in huge flocks.
And they'll bring the disease. Because again, we have right now in California, there's a new high in terms of in Texas, in Florida, all these states that we traditionally get our tourists from.
There's 21 states that has spiked into that.
That's almost half, almost half the United States. The risk is too great, in my estimation. I would actually until November, December to see what's going on. But I understand that these people are putting their political expediency over the national responsibility, and as a result of that, they are feeling pressure to open the airport. I don't agree with it, but let's see how it goes. My greatest concern is for the children. I believe that we should be putting our children at risk. They are not in a position to take on the responsibility of maintaining the social distance and wearing the mask, especially those that are very young. Those between the ages of 5 and 10, I think they're best kept at home, at least until we can see how this plays out in the next couple of months.
And on that note, we're half an hour over. Time has flown tonight.
Ladies and gentlemen, all those who have tuned in tonight, I want to thank you especially. We go forward with our campaign. We come back again on Thursday, but I'll be seeing our constituents in Belmopan in the coming days as I go house to house. Mi gente de Las Flores, de Rivera, San Martin, Belmopan, perdóname, y Salvapan, perdóname, la cosa que pasa es que nosotros estamos esperando a una persona que va a estar en el programa conmigo para asegurar que nosotros podríamos platicar en español, para asegurar que ustedes por la conversación. En estos días no me tenía la habilidad a platicar mucho en la lengua, pero en los programas en el futuro me voy a asegurar que me hablo más, que ustedes podrían seguir que estoy diciendo, porque estoy aquí para representar a toda la gente en Belmopan, y ustedes, mis amigos, mis amigas, son muy importantes, y el desarrollo es para todo. Gracias. Hasta la próxima vez. Adiós.
From the 21, from Studio 21 here in Belmopan, we say thank you very much for joining us. Happy birthday, Belmopan. Happy Emancipation Day, Belize. Thank you and good night.